make sure that these virtual missions are totally isolated. Unfortunately, the missions I have today are not totally isolated. But since I know the repercussions of the malware that I have and how they work, I'm confident enough that they are not going to infect my system. The latest virus or the malware that is there in the market, they can bypass the virtual environments or sandbox environments of your VMware VirtualBox, access host operating system and infect your system. So the most important thing when it comes to malware analysis is to set up the right lab, an isolated lab. If at all you are in VMware, always use hosted network, not a bridge, not a NATed network, custom only or hosted network, so that this communication would never happen with your virtual systems. And on those missions, you would run the program malware and see what is happening. And advanced static analysis by loading the executable into disassembler and looking into program instructions. This is where we would also look into the disassembler code, assembly level functionalities, jump conditions, or anything that has been happening in the application and see what has been happening with the application. And advanced dynamic uses a debugger. We also debug the program. Any hacker from this group, especially with most of the people who are interested in gaming, they tend to learn more about debugging unknowingly because they wanted to win over their opponent. What they do is, without knowing, they probably might be tampering the memory functionalities. They debug, they pass the memory, they change the functionalities, and then execute it. That's how the whole cracking of the games and other applications comes into picture. Debugging is working on with what has been happening in the memory while the program is being executed. That is what you would usually do in your dynamic advanced analysis. General rules of malware analysis, don't get too caught up in the details. What is that? Stuxnet. Heard about the Stuxnet application? Iran recently started basic war against Israel, right? But you know when exactly it got started? Back in '96, during the first Gulf War between Iraq and US, Iran also started working towards their own nuclear development, weapon development. And for that, they made this nuclear reactor to rotate at a particular RPM. And they found a program. They were unable to filter that uranium by rotating that nuclear reactor at a particular RPM because that wasn't functioning well. And after a couple of years, when a researcher was looking into it, he found out that the founder, the embedded PLC code, has got some kind of functionality. Code has been collected. It then got distributed to over 60 plus different malware analyst companies. They took almost 2 years to analyze it. After certain period of time, Stuxnet, it's not Stuxnet, it is Stux. After certain period of time, it has been identified that this program has been intentionally written to sabotage the function of the rotate or the RPM of the machine. This is a government level espionage, but the challenge what I'm mentioning over here is they took 2 years. After that also they were unable to come up with a detailed analysis of that particular program because most of the program was obfuscated and hashed, encoded, and encrypted at different layers. So whenever you perform malware analysis, always what we need to do is keep your focus on the end results, like the report, whatever you are going to generate, whether you have behavior analysis done, code analysis done, character or execution analysis done. So focus more on the report and start collecting the data accordingly. Finally, remember malware analysis is like a cat and mouse game. The more you look into different kinds of malware, the more techniques you would understand that the hacker is using to bypass. For example, for all the guys who might have been already working with Kali Linux, have you ever worked on with Shikata Ganai? Nope. It's another kind of binary compressor like APX, which can be used to compress a binary that none of the antivirus would be able to catch. So hackers obviously work on with this kind of stuff. Now let us quickly jump on to static analysis. Static analysis describes the process of analyzing a code. Since I already gave you the example, using antivirus tools to confirm maliciousness, we could use, let us say I have got a program, a simple program, and if I ask you to verify whether it is a malicious thing or not, simplest thing what you could do is scan it through antivirus. But as I was mentioning, the biggest challenge is there are 71 plus antivirus, and not all antivirus will catch a program as a malware. So how do you scan with all these 71 antiviruses at a time? Just by dropping your program in your virus total. But the challenge here is, as I told you, in a malware analysis, you would be working on a system which will not have access to the internet or network. In that case, how do you analyze? So you need to download latest programs like PEID and other applications, which comes up with the latest signatures of this malware. They check with the hash and update you the information. So I'll show you one demonstration of that. Using hashes to identify. So if that is not possible, create a hash for your program, the malware that you have on your system. Copy that text file because it's a text. You will copy it from the virtual machine to virtual machine, and then upload this hash to VirusRouter. And gathering information from files, strings, functions, and headers. For your understanding, anyone over here who has developed any binary on Windows operating system? Binary is something like an exe. Have you ever developed a C program, an output file, hello world, gets executed as an exe? What is PE on a Windows binary? PowerShell executable. No, portable executable. Every binary that runs on Windows, every program that runs on Windows has a header. Like how you have HTTP headers, a header and data, even the binary program that gets executed on your machine will have a header. PE header is what we call it as. Without running the program, you could read the content of it by using binary text feeders, right? For example, we are talking about keylogger. What might be the basic characteristics of a software-based keylogger? It should look out for any key that is pressed on your keyboard. That is alphabets A to Z, special characters, caps, smalls. Log might be one functionality. Then it is supposed to create a file where it can store these logs. Sometimes it might also need mail function so that it can send it through email or a backdoor or probably proxy application or torrent and many other mechanisms. But it needs some kind of network connectivity. And it needs to work on continuously with your operating system. This is what a basic characteristic of a keylogger is, right? So to understand this, what we need to do is we'll check with the binary code of the program. I'll show you a couple of examples, but before anything, all you need to do is run the program in virustotal.com. Okay, I already mentioned it to you. Now let us do a small exercise. Of course, since you do not have laptops over here, I'll demonstrate it on my screen mission. Probably once you're back, we'll also share this presentation, go through this presentation and practice it. PA Studio is one program which gives you a lot more information related to your program. So I have some virtual missions over here. What I'm doing over here is I got a Windows 10 operating system, but on that I have installed Flare VM. Now Flare VM comes up with multiple malware analysis tools by default, and it also comes up with Waveware. That means it removes all unnecessary Windows operating system functionality. You could easily find it in Git. Straight away download Windows 10 operating system and start configuring the Waveware. But for our understanding, it is good enough if you have some basic tools. And what we will get to the Waveware is all the portable executable programs, decompilers, disassemblers, and other programs that are needed for malware. And what I'm going to use here as of now is a program known as PE Studio. PE Studio not only reads the portable executable header information of a program, but it also looks out for hash information and also scans the program with VirusRouter. So let me try to run that particular program information. This is how the PE Studio would look like. Now, I'll just try to open a program. We will straight away open some unknown program in our system, but try to analyze the characteristics or say what can we understand based on that particular program. Wintext is again an alternate application that can be used to look into binary of text content of a binary file. So either you could use PE Studio or Wintext. I have a couple of malware in the desktop. We have, as I was mentioning, we do have keylogger, Trojan, ransomware, and also some scareware. For some reason, eStudio isn't working. I may have to restart the machine. So here we have plain text, which actually reads the text content of a binary. So let us quickly jump on to some program. And pick up one program by name server.exe and look into that particular program. Is this visible? Yeah. So at this point of time, let us understand we are not reverse engineers. We don't know anything about assemble level language and other stuff. Let us simply read the content, the text content that is visible on the right side column and see if you can see anything interesting that is happening. Does it make any sense, the scrambled text, whatever you were able to see? The only text I could understand from the list so far is the kernel, right? Now, here we are able to see that this program understands some information related to A to Z, caps, small a to Z. It also collects information related to some numbers. I don't see a regular structure of the numbers, but it is still working on with some numbers. If you are familiar with PLL files, shell 32, user 32, shell 32 is the primary control, as I was mentioning, shell is the core functionality of your operating system. So it is this particular program is accessing shell, DLL, kernel 32 DLL. You know the functionalities of kernel, right? What exactly kernel is responsible for? Kernel is kind of heart to your operating system, responsible to handle core functions like memory management, process management, file system, user management. This is what kernel is supposed to do. So it is accessing the kernel, that is like core functionalities of your operating system. This program must be run under Win32, so this is a 32-bit program. It has got some functionality to create, to take a snapshot. WELO, in case you are well versed with telnet SMTP commands. We usually use HELO, it is not HELLO. So it is something like that, because what I can also see is all from RCPT2. If you are aware about sending an email using telnet SMTP commands, this is what we do. So this application is trying to send something through email. Now the interesting part is where the advanced malware analysis comes into picture, because I'm sure here you won't be able to find out to whom exactly it is sending. to which IP it is actually sending, because it is at the very basic level of the PE header. For that, we need to see what is happening in the memory. That's when I would be able to catch the receiver's IP or receiver's email. Right? And yeah, it is looking at a word function and then it is doing a lot more other functions. So if you are familiar with some basic system level functions, system level DLLs or other requirements, you'll be able to understand that this is definitely a keylogger. It has got key logging functionality. It also has got one more functionality through which it can send emails, right? It can create, it can also take snapshots, this program. What else we can understand? We have something which is encoded, probably nothing interesting. Again, the same DLLs, very interesting DLLs were here. And then we have get process address. In case you have worked on with any exploitation, as I was mentioning earlier, prerequisite for understanding malware analysis is exploitation. So if you do exploitation, post exploitation, you will migrate a normal program, escalate the privilege, and become a super user. For that, you need to get process ID of certain process like lsass.exe, explorer.exe, and that is what is been actually fetched over here. Of course, multiple other DLLs are executed. Is DLL an executable file on Windows? What are the executables on Windows? exe is for sure. What else can be executed? I think, yes, that's pretty much it. PowerShell files. PS1. PowerShell scripts. Yeah, you can execute PowerShell scripts, of course, within the PowerShell, not independently. Batch files, .bat, which obviously can call for other programs and execute it. You could also execute .scr. What is .scr is for? .scr is screensaver. So hackers used to share this malware in screensaver formats. Okay. Now, I mean, this is like, I just opened that particular server.exe, which I know for sure that it is malware. But at this point, we understood the basic functionalities of the malware by performing basic static analysis, reading the header content, text content of the program.
Does it mean all the critical keywords have to be in order only? Like,
no.
Like we have seen kernel as came as a word, or A B C D E F G came as a word. So we got it like it's certainly a key that is being getting strike. Numbers coming in the sequence. So certainly maybe
no. That's the slide we mentioned. Don't put too much on investigation, because this is like a lemon developer or a lemon hacker who usually lists all the words in an order. Now the advanced ones, what they do is they don't even make this visible. All these things would be obfuscated because they wanted to primarily bypass antivirus. They don't keep us in mind, but their target is bypass antivirus. And the existing signatures of antivirus would look for this. They can easily identify this as a virus, catch it if I see common words. So advanced hackers or the existing hackers who prepare FQDs, they don't keep the words in this order. This is for our understanding to see like how content of the program.
So with the bare eyes, we cannot find any pattern out of this.
With a basic static, the main purpose of basic static analysis is to see what might be the purpose of the program. What is he trying to do? We can find few, like he's trying to call for user 32 DLL, kernel DLL. There is certain purpose of these DLLs. DLLs are executable on Windows, provided it cannot be directly executed. You need to use DLL32 or alternate application to execute them. But these are like additional headers, and even the functions of that particular DL. So when you understand what might be the function of that program, we can assume, okay, the purpose of calling user 32 is to access network shared based resources. You could understand based on those things.
Basically, it is an unstructured data.
Exactly.
Can we use any specific deep learning or learning model that works on unstructured data to make some patterns out of this?
We can. In fact, the Cuckoo and Lab more other latest sandbox, which comes in usually advanced language. They have this structured data, unstructured data mapped onto functionalities. In fact, even our virus total, we try to go to virus total and see one program with that. It has got some analysis happening through this particular unstructured structured data. They started implementing it, but not up to the best because most often what happens is obfuscation would keep on improving. And it is even one small bit modified cannot back it up. But yes, they are already working on towards that. Cuckoo is one sandbox, a freely available sandbox, which gives you a lot more of such kind of functions. It does this analysis, AI-based reporting also. CUCKOO, sandbox. For the guys who do not know what a sandbox is, it is something like application virtualization. Instead of, see, if you might have observed, my system is already running slow because I'm running multiple operating systems with memory scattered between two different environments and so on, right? Sandboxing is application virtualization. Instead of virtualizing the whole operating system, you only virtualize the application. Who does that? So now let us go to PE Studio, try opening the same file and see what can we find out from this. Both the times I'm not executing the program because I know that's malicious. I'm not double clicking the server.exe. You should be very careful while working on these programs. Don't know on which one I opened it. I'll open it here again. PE Studio again looks out for PE header of any binary. But apart from that, it gives us a lot more other things in a structured format, like how your colleague has been asked. Such as based upon the characteristics and functionalities. So what you could see over here is strings. Strings are nothing but the text content within a binary. If you even open it with Notepad, there will be some basic text content available. That is captured over here. And this is what we were able to even see in binary text, bin text. String content. And then we could also look into indicators.
Yep. Can offset be used for these correlations?
Assembly level language.
Offsets.
Offsets, yes, we can.
Use for
yes, definitely. In fact, there is a huge list of offset mapping.
Basically, offset is the offset from the memory allocation.
Exactly.
So offset can be synchronized offset. The meaningful strings can be found out.
Yes. Meaningful strings and functions, yes, they can be captured with offsets. Yes. But what happens is again, memory randomization or probably, heuristic bypass is what the technique they use. So what they do is they would not use the same offsets or the functionalities of the same execution purpose. You could map it up, but not to an accurate level. So we are looking out for some additional information over here. Signature unknown for this program. You get to know when exactly the program timestamp, exactly the program has been compiled, size of this program. You'll also get to know additional hash files. Now, what you are able to see over here is there is this UPX term. As I was mentioning earlier, UPX is something that can be used to compress a binary. So obviously, a hacker is trying to compress this binary using UPX, which itself is an indicator of compromise. And then you have 58. As I was mentioning, if there is no internet on your machines, then you may have to copy it back on a text format, share it locally, and then move it on to virus portal and check it on the virus portals. Here I got an error for virus total. Maybe I need to get connected to internet to have access to virus total. If I turn on my hotspot and get connected to internet, but also be able to see hash verification of this program. Let me also try doing that hotspot. Or if I can access internet. So virus total comes as a default add-on with your PE Studio, which automatically collects the hash files, verifies that with the virus total, and gives you the information. So we just check if we can capture any additional information. What else we can see? Libraries, directories, strings, driverless signatures. Take down this program, SigVerif. Ever heard about this program, SigVerif? This is an inbuilt Microsoft program which would verify for the known signatures. All OEMs are supposed to submit their signatures with a certificate assigned by Microsoft to get their application listed as a part of OS. So SigVerif, if there is no signature assigned to that particular program or a DLL, it would be automatically able to find it out and give you the result. And that is what has been happening over here. So it says the signature is unknown for this program. If we just connect to internet once. Earlier, I was mentioning about multi-factor authentications, right? Three factors: what you have, what you know, what you have, and what you are. So what you know is your password. What you have is your mobile device, or in older days, we used to have these RSA keys, especially from the banks, which generates a random key, right? You might have seen it in Nanak Premathur movie, where Jagat was press key, right? So that is what you have, a unique key that would only be there with you, or OTPs these days. And what you are, the last one, which is your biometric. And you will find and see that there are two programs in my system. One is cap file, and the other one is intla.sys. We do not have any signature for these programs. So obviously this might be a malware in my case. I'm closing that. I'm just trying to see if I still don't have access to my, in fact, I got connected to hotspot, but I don't think so I have access to it. But one more thing we need to always remember, do not directly connect your malware lab network to internet. Like what I'm doing, I do not have all the malware dumped on this machine. So I'm confident enough that no malware is spreading across our network or systems. Yeah, meanwhile, let us proceed to the next example. Hashing is a common method that can be used to identify malware. Now, these days, because of all kinds of latest AI technologies, it is not hard for you to come up with your own program to generate hash file generators. Otherwise, you could have bin hash, MD5 hash. There are lots of third-party available applications through which you could generate a hash for your program. That you can submit it in Aristotle. Let me see if I can copy and paste the hashes from this. So we have copy line, and let me go to Aristotle if I'm connected to internet. No internet, even to your seminar now. That's fine. So they already prevented malware from spreading. That's fine. I'll just skip that part of Aristotle, but it is quite simple, quite straightforward. Just go and place the hash on the file. It will find out, scan it with all 70 plus antiviruses and gives you the details. I would like to show you those mappings of the existing structured data. Okay. And once you have the hash generated, either through PE Studio or your own hash file generators, you could just check with that results, map it up to any malware that has been already detected. MD5 deep, WinMD5, and there are a number of other hash generating applications. Run your program through that and you will get a hash. A string that can be copied and move it onto virus portal and verify. Process Explorer, Sysinternals is one of the very famous website that's been developed, now acquired by Microsoft, produces lots of Windows-based programs. And TCP views, Sysinternals, PE Explorer, PS tools, and other things are very much freely available from this thing. What you could do is download PE Explorer, especially if at all you are not working with Flare operating system, when you are not getting this program. Download another program, either Process Explorer strings or Wintext. You just saw Wintext, binary text, to extract information. And once it is done, you would be able to see if there is any compressed or any other program that is running on your machine, which is encrypting the data. I'm skipping that part because we have already gone through Wintext. Load library, get process address. These are the things what we usually need to monitor. With the program what I uploaded, we do not have those libraries directly accessed for. Next, we have basic dynamic analysis. Now, this is where the most complicated stuff gets done. We will run a program with a dynamic analysis. What you are going to do is you are going to execute that malware and then see the characteristics. Now, for that, I need to run the malware. We are going to work with a very small program known as RegShot. RegShot is something like it takes a screenshot of your registry and file system before infection, and later you would infect your system. It takes another snapshot of your registry and file system and gives you a comparison, saying like these are all the changes happened on your system after this malware execution. So let us do that. Just change the resolution of this mission. Let us go next slide. So with the codes, again, that comes by default with Flare operating system. You will be able to see the categorization, especially for registry. This is where you will be able to find the program RegShot, which takes a screenshot of your system. And I'm getting the first snapshot. Output path would be C:\, app data. I don't want that to be stored on the app data. I would store it on the desktop itself. And take the first snapshot. Then go back to my malware. Run the malicious program. This is a simulator malware. What it does is it encrypts. I have a couple of files over here. Sample1.txt. and another sample, simple plain text file. What a simulator does is it encrypts these two files, changes this content, and then comes up with a notification demanding the ransom. I'll just execute the program. I'll go back to my next shot. Not enough memory. I think this machine has got around 8 GB of RAM. Virtual machine. So by the time it comes up, let me go back. You could see two more files that have been created. One is ransom note with a fake address demanding fake ransom. And then there is this same sample text. Now, instead of plain text, it got converted into some random data. It's a simple ransomware simulation. Nowadays, the biggest challenge as a security practitioner we have been facing is hackers are not using a different code for ransom encryption, encryption of the application. In fact, they are using BitLocker, the default functionality within the operating system. So that makes our job more complicated. So I go back to that shot. I'm supposed to take second shot, which is like after infecting, it will observe all the changes that have happened on my environment. Second shot. Now this will create that folder file, which gives me the details of all the files that have been modified, updated in my environment. Right? By the time it runs, let me jump on to the next part of the slides. So with advanced, basic dynamic analysis, we run the program. The same thing we will do with one more program known as a fake net. If you understand the functionalities of any malware, ultimately they are supposed to communicate either with the hacker or with the rest of the other systems of the things. So what we do there is like we will create a fake internet for the system to understand, believe that it got connected to internet. If you say google.com, you get a positive response. If you say XYZ, you get a positive response. And then we start capturing all the information that goes out of your infected system. Understand to where exactly the data is getting stored or transferred. We have UBX-D, which can be used to decompile any, decompress any compressed program. I'm skipping that UBX compression part, but let us go back to the slide. We have date and time generated. We have the application information. Usually it gets stored within the same environment. So we have the extra data over here. Compare. Now let us compare the shots. I1 is one more program which would help you out to understand whether the program is compressed or not. So I'll open the ID. Let me browse one program. Let me see host.exe. Let me see. Now this program is not compressed, but if I open the other program, server.exe, you should be able to see that this is compressed using UPX. So PID is a program that can be used to understand whether the program is compressed or not. We are actually done with the session once we have the comparison results. So by the time it gives us the results of the comparison, I'll just reverse the whole thing that we have discussed today. We started off with discussing malware analysis, with the definition of malware and what is the purpose of malware analysis, different types of malware and different methods or approaches you could take for analysis. Of those different mechanisms that can be used to analyze malware, we picked up two. It is like basic static, basic dynamic analysis. In a basic static analysis, we will look into the data information of the program without running it. Studio, Text, virus total, and all such kind of applications will be useful. And the basic dynamic analysis, we will run the program and observe what is being happening with the program. For that, we have used as Rexshot. What I haven't demonstrated you is fake net, which creates a fake internet and responds to that. But what I could see over here is like the comparison information, keys deleted, zero, keys added, two keys, registry keys have been added, values deleted, two values have been deleted. You could set values added four and additional details. So if I say compare, and I should be having this document of malware on my desktop. It's on desktop. Okay, let me see. I'm just exporting that into, yeah, I could have done it through text file itself. It might have been easy. But what we'll be able to see is like the changes that have been done to this system after this metadata content. Let me export it to plain text only. Now, if you observe the changes, what you could understand over here is HKU, hotkey local user. Most of the malware will sit at the startup programs. So you could also take down this registry, very important registry key. If you want to check your systems whether they are infected or not, go back to regedit. Take down the path, hotkey local mission, Microsoft Windows current version run. Same thing goes even with other applications. So it's browse that and demonstrate hotkey local mission, software, Microsoft, Windows, current version, run. This is a small exercise you could do on your systems after going back. Go to this path. All you need to see over here is the programs that you understand. For example, Health Systray is a tray-based application, Windows Microsoft application, which maintains system health. So you shouldn't be worried about it. But I have another program, Windows Update. If I look into that, you could see that there is this program running known as NC. For the guys who might have worked on with Kali, it is Netcat, a backdoor. And this backdoor is running in detached mode. That means I will be able to identify as a pop-up program. It is listening in verbose mode on port number 4444 and it executes cmd.exe. That means if I open some program, I'll take another 5 more minutes. Meanwhile, whoever who might have got some queries related to your sessions, please feel free. We'll address those questions and then close the session.
So what if you close the port?
If you close the port, then a hacker won't be able to connect. This is directly visible, but when you understand the types of connectivity, most often what happens is it is like reverse shell connectivity. Hacker would never expose his IP. SSH is fine, but reverse shell in the sense victim would get connected back to the hacker. It is not hacker who gets connected back to your environment. Now, in this case, let us say in my case, hacker is on Kali Linux. I can connect to victim machine. Okay, provided I know the IP address of the victim. So all I need to do is to know the IP address, which is 5.71. See, comes up as a default program on Linux. So we can see if I say 5.71 on port 4444, if there are no firewalls, no blockages to port 4444, and the system is listening, I should be able to connect. I suspect that to happening in this environment because of the IP. or 66, that is when they should work. Operation not permitted. That's a problem. There is interconnection problem between these two VMs. But yes, of course, we will be able to connect to that environment and access that environment. What you could see is with the registry of the starting path, all you need to remember is the path, hotkey, local mission software, Microsoft Windows. But in this case, it also added OneDrive installer update description ID, which with the description ID with so and so temporary file. It has modified general render with the hash of data, total changes, and are there any other changes apart from current version scheduled task basis? Nothing. Date uptime time, user that is being used. You cannot see the file that is been deleted because in our case the file is not been deleted, it is there as it is. Only the content within it got encrypted, right? So Redshot is the application that would allow you to see before and after infection. It is like basic dynamic. You could also use fake internet to observe to which system the connection is actually getting established or to where exactly the connection is. Apart from this, there are advanced scanning methods where you would also decompile the program and see what has been happening, run the disassembler and see in an assemble level language, especially where jump conditions are happening, jumping from one function to other function, or debug when the program is running on your memory. So that is in short about all our malware analysis with a limited practical exposure today. Any doubts, queries related to different kinds of malware analysis or the job roles, please feel free. Now doubt settle.
Cybersecurity branch or something. So, how's the job opportunities for them? What minimal what you would expect students to know at least?
From a student's perspective, there are four mandatory things what they need to start preparing for, especially when they want to get or make their career on cybersecurity. One, education. We are not looking for a guy who is an MBA, Masters in Telecommunications, Information Assurance, or what we look is for guys who are well equipped with cybersecurity related technologies. One who understands offensive part or basics of networking and operating systems. That's a core thing for any security technologies. So they need to have strong knowledge on operating systems, strong knowledge on networking, and some other additional education related to this, like red teaming. We need somebody to understand the basics of hacking, basic rules of hacking, or from in recent past, we have got greater opportunities for SOC analysts, SOC engineers, and reverse engineers. That's the malware analyst part, job. For them, we would look out for the other E. Education is one E, the other E is experience. So, of course, we might not take a pressure and have them work on with forensic investigation or incident response. But what we make them to work is like a basic SOC analysis, an L1 job role, where they should be able to understand like this, what has been happening on a computer, differentiate and have a keen eye on system level functions or background, whatever it has been happening. Then the other thing, because most of our clients, we at this point of time serve around 10 different countries. Most of them are from Europe, a couple of them are from US, different reasons, and African reasons. Communication plays a very core role. So we would also expect a student to have strong communication, both written and verbal communication. And then finally, at this point, few corporates are looking out for certifications. A specific certification related to hacking or specific related, certification related to IT infrastructure management, something like IL, or compliance management, something like ISO lead auditors or lead developers. Because since 2020 pandemic, there's been a huge demand even for compliance managers, which again falls as a part of cybersecurity. And DPDP, very soon we are going to have that act enforced within the government. If that happens, there is a huge scarcity for compliance managers or DPOs, data privacy officers. That's what they can focus on. Understand what the compliance is. Like for this, we would be mandatorily saying that we need to have an EDR or a thing to collect and correlate the events. Because what happens is, in short, collecting and looking out for these kind of logs is fine. If there is one event, 2 events. But if there are lakhs of such kind of events happening every hour, then you need technology. You need to be dependent on technology. So there are certificates related to SOC and other stuff. So probably could help them out to work more towards those kind of technologies, having understanding on those technologies. So in our case, it is E2C2. That's what we say. That is education, experience, communication, certificate. They are good to go with any corporate. And the bare minimum salaries for any 1.5 year experience cybersecurity professional, it would start from somewhere around 9 lakh rupees. And we have our previous staff members who've been earning around 2 crore rupees outside India, somewhere in Dubai and other parts of the world, or more than that. And 40-50 lakh rupees in India with around 7-10 years of experience in cybersecurity. We would recommend students, as cybersecurity, what we call ourselves as practitioners. So one core skill set they need to have is keep learning every day, because as we were mentioning, these tools are very old as of now. And with the AI, there is huge shift that has been happening, especially when it comes to quantum computing and breaking into passwords and others. So that becomes memories. So you need to keep on upgrading yourself, especially if at all students want to get come into this domain. Okay. We used to have a separate training because of the time issues. Because we actually ask our students to, learn for 8 hours a day. 2 hours of theoretical session, 6 hours they are supposed to work on with the practical exposure. That happens for 6 months, and then after that, they actually come as an apprentice to the job. But they won't be directly participating on a real-time client communication, but they would work on L1 roles and so.
So on in-campus short division, not expectation of 9 to 6 days.
In fact, we are doing that. Of course, with Nalsa University and Usmania. Recently, IIT Kanpur has approached us for a product application.
Can we contact?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Sure. At this point of time, we have 5 Bitsbilani Dubai girls working with us.
Actually,
Yeah,
I'm from Manipal University and we have started our cybersecurity from this year.
great.
So I like
You mean Mr. Manipal or Manipal Bangalore?
Manipal is Jeff.
Oh, okay. I've been in guest faculty at Tech Tattva of Manipal, Bangalore. And Sikkim Manipal, a couple of months back, I've been there in Sikkim Manipal for similar kind of faculty development program. They are planning to introduce cybersecurity, especially focusing on forensic kind of stuff. So they
we'll be preparing the industrial expertise on the same, because this is the subject which is not traditional, and that doesn't have any traditional aspect. It has a very future prospects. We have great future prospects. So education, like the organizations who are providing education, organizations who are doing practical work need to be integrated.
Correct. And the only challenge we see is because, we had a couple of instances within our organization where we place a pressure with the client location. We face a loss of 45K per day based on one simple tamper that has done an application. So we don't even explore or place these candidates directly as a ending resources to the client. So they usually need to work as an L1, as a backend support team for ticket handling SOC analysis part and other stuff. They won't be directly getting exposed to exploitation, red teaming, or compliance management, or blue team, architecture design. So yes, we do intake, but that's how it works. Even we do not directly add them and place them in the market, because that's a core requirement. We need experienced resources to handle payments. And of course, we do have 10 commandments when it comes to handling clients' data. So that's why we say this is not your lab rat or lab where you could experiment and see whether this is going to work or not. So all those experiments, they need to do it within this particular 6 months period of time. So that they are hands-on when they go to the clients. So thank you all. If you guys have any other queries, feel free to contact me. Yes.
I actually learned assembly and some reverse engineering, but I don't understand where to start because there are many bits, right? I mean, many processes, right?
Yeah.
Different processes, different assembly language.
Yes.
Where to start, sir? Where to start? What usually in real time, what they use to, like what language we see, what type of assembly we see.
C#. Yeah. Primarily, what happens is when it comes to assembly level language understanding, you start with T assemblers. This is assemblers. Okay, oil debuggers to wind debug to any other disassembers. We have a couple of very good resources to understand reverse engineering. What used to happen back then is like reverse engineering is been taught specially on systems, but for last decade, what has been happening is reverse engineering is to an extent to a level where you'll be able to easily prepare a pirated software when you understand the whole functionality of the program. So the resources are very limited when it comes to actual reverse engineering. I do have a couple of flash-based resources, the word resources, which will actually help you out to reverse any binary program, irrespective.
I've already tried many times like to learn it, but I don't even understand the basic hello world program of the. I can't even understand hello world program. When I reverse engineering.
Correct. Because for that, again, you need to start off understanding
Registries, I have to understand some registries.
machine level language, assembly level language, and then jump back to C program, C#, the latest ones, whatever that is been happening. But to reverse the application, reversing is different thing. No matter whatever the application program, what they might have used for development, they will reverse it based upon its function. So for that, as I was mentioning, it will give the flash resources. But of course, for almost a decade, there is no direct demonstration, direct availability of reversing technologies available in the market. Because the core issue in the market is like, once you become an expert in reversing, you could reverse anything. As I was mentioning, we started off with some temple run game long back.
Yes, sir.
No matter my friend reaches a target, I would break it within half an hour and I give him another target. It is far more easy when you understand how all this stuff is assembling and with a combination of debugger. When you do this, it will be easy for you to break in any application. So the resources that are publicly available for that are very. All we do, or all you could get over internet is malware related reverse, where you would look in for jump conditions, where you would be looking out for certain program calls for DLL or redirection or obfuscation of the program. All this kind of things is what you would only observe with a limited reverse engineering process.
Right now, I have no chances of learning.
As I said, I have the word
Old.
I can share that, but it might not be practically. You need to have a different setup to work on this. Like you can't even simply execute a flash file. None of the browsers would allow you to run it in the latest browser. So you need to have a different setup to read that.
Even Giga and that also not.
At a basic level, Jira would help you out.
Giga IDX.
I mean, recommend you to start up with Flare. It has got all the tools that are required for malware analysis. Flare, I mean, you will get a PowerShell script. All you need to do is download Windows 10 operating system, run this PowerShell. It, removes all the bolted functionalities and then gives you all the tools. Jira is available by default. But that is again limited. It won't help you out to get into the depths of program. All it is related to is the core functionalities of malware. Gives you the reverse. Thank you. Any other queries? I don't see any of the students enthusiastic about this particular program. You should be really start looking out for your career planning related to cybersecurity. What I recommend is like if you have a program manager, there are lots of resources available over market for career planning, but the thumb rule is top-down approach. Top-down approach for career planning in cybersecurity is like, where do you see yourself after 5 years of 10 years of span of time in cybersecurity? The biggest position what you could get into is like probably a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, Chief Security Architect, or probably Director Security, CIO of any organization. For that, probably you need a couple of certifications, years of experience, and multiple domains of cybersecurity. So if you come up with that top-down, bottom approach, you have lots of plans publicly available. Start working towards that plan, and it will be easy to you to get into this skill. So if there are no queries, thank you all. Thanks for joining the session. See you next.